The Indiana Fever destroyed the Atlanta Dream.
There is 36 seconds left. A blowout by the Fever.
Gutty performance from Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark had the ball in her hands. She became the creator of offense.
That is Fever basketball.
Just moments ago, Caitlin Clark put the Atlanta Dream on lockdown and sent a loud warning shot to every team in the league. You can feel a whole new vibe around this squad. There's real spark here. Jordan Canada? Quieted. Brittney Griner? Kept in check. Caitlin didn't just suit up tonight. She owned the floor. If you're rolling with her, smash the comments with a full-on 100% for Caitlin right now.
Caitlin Clark is obviously the reason why everybody's watching the WNBA. She's the reason why all these fans are tuning in.
Nobody on this team sets screens.
Let's break down how she dismantled them in just seconds. Scoring is one thing, but flipping the entire momentum of a game with pure defensive hustle? That's a whole different level. And that's exactly what Caitlin Clark pulled off against the Atlanta Dream.
A complete and utter fourth quarter takeover from Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Ball.
Let's take it back for a second. Jordan Canada came into this game on a mission, straight up unstoppable. She lit it up with 26 points in just the first half.
We had Caitlin Clark locking down Jordan Canada. Jordan Canada had 4 second half points with Caitlin Clark guarding her.
She was knocking down threes like Steph Curry and slicing through Indiana's defense like it was nothing. Honestly, it felt like the Fever were headed for another rough, frustrating night. But then, everything flipped the moment Caitlin Clark stepped up and took the defensive challenge herself.
Jordan Canada in the first half was cooking for the Dream, and that's really what changed the game. Is how many what did she have? 6 threes in the first half. She's a 21% three-point shooter. I'm glad the Fever and Stephanie White didn't overreact.
In the second half, Caitlin Clark got the direct matchup with Jordan Canada. And what followed was a straight-up defensive masterclass.
And they locked her down in the second half. She only had 4 points.
That wasn't by chance. That was Caitlin Clark locking in and making a statement.
Jordan Canada had 4 second half points with Caitlin Clark guarding her.
This wasn't some lazy switch or relying on help defense. This was Caitlin face guarding, battling through screens, staying low, using her wingspan, and straight up denying any breathing room. All in all,
Overall, I think the energy of this team is just different, man. And it just sucks, bro, because it's like last year, bro, this team was really fun to watch, bro. This team's not fun to watch no more, and I just got to be real with y'all.
she took the matchup personally, and she absolutely delivered. The Fever held the Dream to just 23 points in the third quarter and 30 in the fourth, completely turning the tide after a rocky first half. And at the center of that shift, Caitlin Clark. Not because of flashy blocks or steals, but because of the relentless hustle that throws off timing and breaks a team's rhythm.
But you saw Clark sort of gaining her rhythm as the game went along, sort of returning to her form as the game went along, finding that pep in her step as the game went along, even though the shooting numbers were tour dates again, and she's got to find that shooting stroke at some point. Look, it can't go on all year, but you understand where some of those struggles come from when you deal with a quad injury and then a groin injury, and you're thrust back into the lineup and you're trying to find your way. But I do think it was the way that Clark found her way to the basket that was the difference in this game, really.
She forced Jordan to second-guess herself, took away the clean looks. And once the Dream's top scorer went silent, the rest of the offense started falling apart too. Let's not overlook it. Jordan Canada dropped 26 in the first half and just 4 in the second. The one constant in that defensive turnaround? Caitlin Clark.
We've been screaming this when they were running up and down the court and Caitlin's making those long passes to various people under the basket. They just start racking up points.
But her impact went way beyond just locking down one player. Her intensity sparked the whole defense. Caitlin was up in the ball handler's face, calling out switches, staying vocal, and keeping everyone locked in.
Caitlin Clark was like plus 18 in the second half. She was plus 18 in the second half.
And the team fed off that energy. Rotations got crisper, closeouts were on point, and suddenly, this same squad that looked out of sync in the first half was flying around with intensity and purpose. Meanwhile, Atlanta's size advantage with players like Brittney Griner and Brianna Jones, it just didn't matter anymore.
Barrage by Jordan Canada, who had 26 points in the first half.
The Fever's tempo and ball pressure threw Atlanta completely off, forcing rushed shots and clunky possessions. When your lead guard's locked down and your bigs can't find clean looks, it's game over. And that's the kind of tone Caitlin set: pressure, frustration, and a full-on breakdown. Her effort didn't pop in the box score with flashy steal stats, but it showed up where it counts most: the scoreboard. Indiana outscored Atlanta 59-36 in the second half, flipping the script from a close contest to a blowout. That's more than just great defense, that's leadership. That's Caitlin Clark controlling the game without even needing to drain a single three.
Don't wait till it get late in the game to get the ball to Caitlin. No, you need to start the game off like that. You need to start the game off giving Caitlin the ball so she can find rhythm, look for the open players, and get it going, bro.
But the full story? It's way more electric than just defense. What Caitlin did on the offensive end wasn't about padding stats. It was about controlling the flow, throwing the dream off balance, and lifting the whole squad around her. Let's talk about her decision-making. This wasn't one of those games where she parked at the top of the key and ran set plays. Caitlin was conducting the offense, reading the defense on the fly, adjusting angles, baiting defenders, and delivering pinpoint passes to cutters and shooters. Whether it was a slick bounce pass to Aaliyah Boston in the paint, a quick find to the corner for Sophie Cunningham, or a perfectly timed lob on the break. She was the engine, running it all with surgical precision. But what really stood out? She never forced it. In a system that can be brutal for guards, Caitlin found her rhythm inside the chaos. She didn't try to control every possession. She trusted her teammates, played to their strengths, and set them up to shine.
Gutty performance from Caitlin Clark in what was an encouraging win for the Fever over the Dream. But what she did was attack.
And she kept that ball moving constantly. Her patience, combined with that next-level court vision, was a huge reason the Fever exploded for 59 points in the second half.
59 points. We had Caitlin Clark locking down Jordan Canada. Jordan Canada had 4 second-half points with Caitlin Clark guarding.
She consistently broke down Atlanta's traps with skip passes, split double teams with confident dribble moves, and most importantly, got the Fever into an offensive rhythm. Now, let's get into the numbers. Her 9 assists? That's just the surface. A bunch of her passes led directly to free throws, so they didn't show up in the stat sheet, but the effect was real. She found Aaliyah Boston at least 3 times, each leading to trips to the line.
4 passes to free throws. She hit Aaliyah Boston 3 times for free throws.
She found Sophie Cunningham wide open for 3. Not just once, but 4 different times. And these weren't just routine passes. They were threaded through traffic, timed perfectly, and delivered right in rhythm. Honestly, a big part of why Sophie finished with that 16-point, 10-rebound double-double, it was Caitlin setting her up with next-level vision and precision.
But Sophie Cunningham, double-double machine, bro. Sophie Cunningham, MVP of this game. She had 10 rebounds, 16 points, 1 assist.
2 things very interesting in the second half. Number 1, they made sure Caitlin Clark had the ball in her hands. She became the creator of offense.
Another key factor? Caitlin's ability to stretch the defense every time she had the ball in her hands. Defenders had to respect her range and vision, which opened up lanes, drew extra attention, and created space for everyone else to operate.
Let's go right here. Sophie Cunningham, let's check it out. And she's got the long 3 way down, boom. Way down, boom.
But Caitlin wasn't just out there making passes. She was controlling everything: the pace, the spacing, the rhythm. There were even stretches where she didn't touch the ball until the final 5 seconds of the shot clock. But it was her off-ball movement that shifted the defense and set up wide-open shots. That's a big reason the Fever nearly cracked 100 points, which is a rare feat in the WNBA's shorter game format. And here's what makes it all even more impressive. Caitlin did this while going through a shooting slump. She finished just 5 of 17 from the field and 1 of 7 from deep. Most players would back off or hesitate in that situation. But Caitlin? She stayed aggressive, kept driving, and kept setting the tone.
She used the physicality against the defenders by putting her head down and going to the basket. That opened things up for her playmaking.
And not once did she lose control of the game. Even when her own shots weren't dropping, she kept her composure and made sure her teammates were getting high-quality looks every time down the floor.
Absolute takeover. An absolute takeover. She's pushing the floor. Everyone's moving. Everyone's running. They're all playing together. Dantas is spreading the floor.
Midway through the third quarter, with the Dream's defense packing the paint, Caitlin decided it was time to take matters into her own hands. She drove hard to the right, absorbed the contact, and then, right on cue, kicked it out to Dantas for the open look.
Once that started clicking, the Fever ran away with things. Sophie Cunningham was everywhere. Clark had it going with Aaliyah Boston again. Kelsey Mitchell was cooking. And all of a sudden, you look up and the Fever are lighting up the scoreboard.
Dantas knocked down the clutch three. Then, just moments later, Caitlin ran a two-woman game with Aaliyah Boston that looked like something straight out of a Stockton and Malone highlight reel. Smooth pick and roll, crisp pocket pass, easy finish, then rinse and repeat. And here's the part that should have the rest of the league a little nervous. Caitlin's not even playing at 100%. Multiple observers pointed out that she still looked a bit tentative at times, likely still working her way back from those earlier quad and groin injuries. She wasn't moving with full speed or elevation, yet she was still the most impactful player on the floor. Not just because of her talent, but because of her basketball IQ. While most are reacting, Caitlin is already 2 steps ahead. She's out here playing chess while others are stuck on checkers. Even when the coaching staff shifted her off the ball, a move that's gotten plenty of criticism, Caitlin adapted instantly. She cut with purpose, spaced the floor perfectly, and the moment the ball swung back to her, she was ready to initiate and control the action. The whole team flowed better when she was leading the charge, and everyone felt it. From Sophie to Kelsey Mitchell, Dantas to Aaliyah Boston, they all got to eat because Caitlin was in the kitchen cooking.
That's where I think the frustration comes into play. But, you know, it was a good Atlanta team that they beat. And I think the most encouraging signs were Clark just starting to attack.
By the time the final buzzer sounded, it wasn't just the points or assists that stood out. It was the overall feel of the game. The Fever looked energized. The ball was zipping around. The pace was up. The spacing actually made sense. And all of that traced back to one thing. Caitlin Clark had the ball in her hands. That's the Caitlin effect. She doesn't need to drop 30 to take over a game. She doesn't need a highlight reel to prove her impact. She just needs the rock and a coach who trusts her to run the show. And when that happens, you get exactly what the Atlanta Dream got, completely dismantled in a matter of seconds.
Caitlin Clark is buying into what the coach is saying about playing off the ball and mixing up the looks. She knows, she said it plainly, they're at their best when she's got the ball, and when there's the opportunity to get her the ball and let her bring the ball up the floor, and she doesn't get it in favor of someone who's not a threat at all in that situation to really score or play make.
The Atlanta Dream came into this one with all the advantages: size, experience, and momentum. With Brittney Griner, Brianna Jones, and a red-hot Jordan Canada, they had every reason to believe they'd control the paint, bully the Fever physically, and walk away with an easy win. But what actually happened? The complete opposite. A full-on breakdown, sparked by Caitlin Clark's relentless energy, high-level basketball IQ, and her ability to completely neutralize star players. Let's start with Brittney Griner. The 6 feet 9 inches former All-Star was expected to dominate this matchup. Instead, she was a non-factor. She barely made an impact. Multiple analysts even said she vanished from the game entirely, despite her clear size advantage. So what happened? Indiana sped things up, and leading that charge was Caitlin Clark. Every time she had the ball in her hands, Atlanta's bigs were in trouble. She kept pulling defenders out of position with her vision, forcing rotations and putting pressure on the interior every single possession.
Dantas, Aaliyah Boston, and Sophie Cunningham, who literally said, "We need to play like with Caitlin. The way Caitlin plays, we need to adjust to Caitlin.
Caitlin stretched the floor so effectively that Griner and the rest of Atlanta's bigs couldn't just plant themselves in the paint. They were constantly on the move. Closing out, recovering, chasing, never comfortable, never in rhythm. And the thing is, Caitlin didn't even need to go at Griner one-on-one. She beat her with pace, spacing, and smart reads. Here's how. Every time Indiana secured a rebound, Caitlin demanded the outlet and took off, immediately pushing the tempo. That quick transition denied a traditional center like Griner the chance to get set defensively. Then came the pick-and-roll game with Aaliyah Boston, and it was textbook. Griner was forced into uncomfortable switches and rotations. There were moments where she looked completely out of sync, unsure whether to hedge, drop, or stay home. And that uncertainty? All created by Caitlin's control of the pace and her ability to read the defense. And when Griner tried to hang back and protect the paint, Caitlin made her pay. Zipping skip passes to Sophie Cunningham and Dantas, who drilled clutch threes and punished the Dream for sagging off.